There is no such thing as bad corpse paint, just bad corpse paint photos. And also, unfortunately, bad corpse paint. Hello, my children, Lord Bathory, and I've been struggling with today's video for a very long time now. I've realized that I'm not eloquently spoken enough, nor fruity enough to do a full-on makeup tutorial, so I've decided to approach this video idea more as like a Cliff Notes, like, point-by-point style of video. Today I'm going to be giving you some pointers on what to do and what not to do when it comes to doing corpse paint. This video is especially dedicated to people who aren't comfortable with their corpse paint technique or are just doing corpse paint for the first time and they just don't know where to start. Now, everybody is going to go through a really bad beginner phase of corpse paint when they start doing it, and there's no denying that, but I want to use this video as a way to kind of speed up that phase and get it over with. So I don't want people to necessarily use this video as like a defined set of rules, but I still wanted to use my personal experience to give some kind of do's and don'ts, things that I'd highly recommend doing and things you should definitely avoid doing when it comes to doing your corpse paint, just so it lowers your chances of being laughed at on Reddit, like on r/blackmetalcringe. So right off the bat, the first thing I'd like to get out of the way when it comes to doing your corpse paint is the makeup itself. Please do not use your Spirit Halloween cheapo-ass makeup, because first off, it doesn't apply well, it comes off really thin. Second, it's just really bad. It's just really, not only does it make your skin react for certain people, if you have skin problems, that's already like takes you out of like doing corpse paint with that particular makeup, but it's just so thin, so watery, it doesn't look good. Now the brand that I highly recommend to do your the brand that I highly recommend using for your corpse paint is the brand Mehron, M-E-H-R-O-N. Surprisingly cheap, and I specifically use their clown white just makeup. I think it's cream too. Now, I know the phrase clown white makeup sounds very goofy, but this is like the most top quality makeup that you could use for your corpse paint, and a little bit of it goes a long way, and it's a really bright white. It's so white, it's whiter than your 99% pure Aryan black metal listener. To put on the white, I use a sponge. I don't use brushes, just so I don't get those brush strokes all over my face and it looks ugly. To set the white, I use cornstarch. You can use any kind of makeup setter. Before you put on your black, make sure your white is set so it doesn't stick to your hair, and it also doesn't blend in with the black itself. I use cornstarch, like I said. I have a little makeup brush and I apply it on there. The general rule of thumb with the cornstarch is if your brush is able to go over the white without it like getting, I guess, kind of stuck to the makeup, you've applied it well. Don't apply too much cornstarch because it's going to be really powdery. You don't want it to be overkill on the corpse paint. Now, in terms of the black makeup, I once again use Mehron, but I use their Star Blend Black Cake makeup. I've experimented with like their liquid black. That black in particular cracks. Highly recommend not getting it. Waste of money. This, it comes off powdery, but I kind of like that. It makes it feel dusty, gross, and to activate this, I would highly recommend using water. Out of laziness, I just use my saline solution for my contacts, which is probably really disgusting to say, but I pour it on there, mix it in, and when I get the right consistency, I just put it on there. Now, in terms of the brushes that I use to apply my black, I use a variety of like flat and just normal brushes, like thin, small, medium, regular size. It really depends on what kind of designs you're using for your corpse paint. I particularly use I have crosses like below my eyes, so I need a really thin brush to get those crosses as small as possible. I also have like corners in my corpse paint design, so I have to use a thinner brush to really get into those like really pointed edges. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend in terms of like the corpse paint makeup itself. Don't use Spirit Halloween makeup. Don't use your basic ass bitch Walmart brand makeup. Those are for pussies. Those are for posers. Use clown makeup. Now for this first section here, I am going to use some references from both the corpse paint subreddit and just corpse paint on TikTok. I will say this, if you're a beginner and you show up in this video, please don't take my critiques about your corpse paint personally. I'm just trying to use you guys as a bit of a reference on what you could improve on and what other people could improve on if they're in the same place as you. Now, if you're a poser doing corpse paint, Ignore everything I just said because you deserve to be made fun of, and I'm gonna pray that the people watching this video are gonna come after you. I'm just kidding. I don't want to be held liable for any death threats that these people get. This, generally speaking, isn't really that bad in terms of like first attempt corpse paint. This is actually really good here. They get bonus points for not trying to do Euronymous or Dead's corpse paint design. The first thing I would like to talk about when it comes to doing corpse paint is corpse paint inspiration. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with taking inspiration when you do corpse paint. And I will admit, Euronymous' corpse paint kind of does go hard in the right photos. But unfortunately, thanks to things like Lords of Chaos, that has ruined corpse paint for a majority of people that use those particular designs. So if you don't want to get laughed at and called a poser or a Lords of Chaos fan, try to avoid basing your corpse paint off of Dead, Euronymous. If you're gonna do some corpse paint inspirations, I'd highly recommend Mechnak from Mutilation. Who else? I don't really know. Just don't do corpse paint based on anything from Mayhem, please. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Okay, wow. Okay. Okay, this video in itself is already fucking bad. This deserves to be in the poser cringe video. But this is another thing that I would like you to please avoid when you do corpse paint. First off, try not to do the spindly shit. Or, I mean, if you're gonna do the spindlies, don't do it this gratuitously. Because in the right settings, I guess this could look creepy, this could look cool. But what really turns me off of this, other than the fact that they used a fucking Slipknot song for this TikTok, is what I like to refer to as the jack-o'-lantern nose. Don't do the fucking jack-o'-lantern nose if you're gonna do corpse paint, because you're supposed to look like a dead corpse. I mean, they almost got the look. I was shitting on the spindly look, but the more that I'm looking at it and sitting on it a little longer, I can kind of see it in the right photos. But the pumpkin nose really ruins the whole look for me. My voice is cracking really badly right now. That's how pissed I am right now. You're supposed to look like a dead body. You're not supposed to look like a pumpkin. So, if you're gonna do corpse paint and you're gonna go with this route, don't do the fucking jack-o'-lantern nose. That's just a big indicator that you're doing your corpse paint based off of a TikTok and you don't even understand what the fuck you're doing when it comes to corpse paint. Now, I'm gonna try to not be as personal as possible. Don't try to be cool and use other colors for your corpse paint. I'm not trying to come off as like your typical I hate women black metal listener, but this just isn't corpse paint. It completely negates the purpose. You could just say it's some kind of edgy makeup inspired by corpse paint. This isn't corpse paint, for fuck's sake. Oh, once again, this bitch shows up on my feed talking about, oh, I'm gonna piss off all the crusty metalheads. Don't use fucking other colors except for black and white with your corpse paint. As much as I hate people that dog on, like, beginner corpse paint, I hate the opposite side of the spectrum, that the biggest issue that I tend to see with people that try to, like, add to the corpse paint is that they want to act like they're know-it-alls because they're doing something new with corpse paint. And I'm probably one to talk because this whole video is how to do corpse paint and your corpse paint sucks. But I'm not trying to be like the CEO of corpse paint. These people, whether they're doing it to rage bait or not, and whether or not they are doing a good job at it, just act like they know everything because they're getting all the hateful attention that they're seeking, which, I mean, I'm probably giving it to them right now. I don't give a fuck whether or not they're gonna dog on me for shitting on their shitty corpse paint applications because they're people from the fucking internet. I can just turn off my computer and then move on with my day because I have a life. I don't have a life, but I'm not gonna kill myself over some weirdo bitch on TikTok. I don't even know how to describe this. They're intentionally trying to make people mad. I mean, it's working. It's working for me at least, but this just isn't corpse paint. Don't use colors other than black and white. This isn't corpse paint. It's inspired by corpse paint. You know what's even worse? This bitch said that this particular design is inspired by Slipknot. So not only is this a really TikTokified corpse paint, it's using Slipknot. I spit really bad on my camera. Oh my god. So this is a really tough video to judge. I don't want to come off as sexist because these are a lot. I'm targeting a lot of like women doing corpse paint. I promise I'm gonna be making fun of men doing corpse paint. This isn't corpse paint. This comes off more as someone doing Kiss makeup. And that's probably the worst thing you can get as someone that does corpse paint, is looking like someone from Kiss. Okay, does she actually play guitar here? Because, I mean, if she does, then good for her. But, like, her posing up for the camera with a guitar and then just, like, dancing with it does not come off as, like, corpse paint, black metal, cool. In the most respectful way possible, it comes off as you just bought a guitar as a wall hanger. Especially since you're calling this particular makeup corpse paint. Now, she does have other makeup designs that look more like traditional corpse paint. And I will admit, this is some pretty solid corpse paint. Especially since she's in the dark, obscuring her features. This is pretty solid. But this right here is not corpse paint. This is... That's not. That just looks like a Christian version of the Kiss member who does the Egyptian makeup. So we have another attention whore right here, just trying to farm TikTok likes by doing edgy e-girl makeup. Once again, jack-o'-lantern nose, big no-no. And she didn't put the white on her corpse paint. Now, I'm not going to dog on this as I would usually with people that don't do white, because as of recently, I'm really sorry to say this, I've stopped using white for my corpse paint. For me personally, I just really hate having to take it off so much, and also, I don't know how to describe it. I feel like it doesn't complement my face well. So I've decided to just stick with doing black, and I mean, it looks cool. I mean, especially since no matter, this is going to get into my point later on in the video, the photos are going to be in black and white. So it doesn't matter whether or not I have white makeup on my face. It's still going to look white, and it's going to contrast with the black parts of my corpse paint. I guess the best way I can explain this kind of point here is I'm not doing like your traditional Norwegian black metal corpse paint. Mine is now more based off of the likes of like the South American bands like Sarcophago that just do the black makeup and look surprisingly cool doing so. That's what my corpse paint is kind of based off of. It's based off of that proto corpse paint look. I will say, if you're someone whose skin complexion is a little bit darker than me, I'd still recommend getting white makeup and doing like a hint of it. Not going all out with the white if that's not your thing, but just doing enough white so that it adds a little bit of contrast with the black makeup and your face. Because in the least racist sounding way possible, it might blend in if you do it wrong and the lighting looks off. Okay, barring the fact that they used Freezing Moon for this, hold on. Oh my god. This video is going to get really derailed by just the cringe that goes in my stomach when I have to watch these for this video. You can, when you do corpse paint, you can go, like, without doing the lips. Does this person have a Nirvana shirt on? They do! They have a fucking Nirvana shirt on! I'm not... Now, this right here is a solid execution of both the good corpse paint design and just really good visuals. They're really using the black and white and obscuring their face. You can barely make out their features just so enough that it looks cool. It looks edgy. And they have a wizard hat for bonus points. Good on them. This is really solid 10 out of 10 edgy corpse paint look. They got the lighting right. It obscures their face, so I'll give them that. They used a Deftones song. They used something that definitely isn't black metal. I want to clarify this just right off the bat. I'm really sorry that I'm kind of... It looks like I'm targeting a lot of the women on here. But unfortunately, it's predominantly women doing corpse paint on TikTok. So this right here is already all kinds of just no. They did the jack-o'-lantern nose. The aesthetics clash. Now this is pretty solid right here. So this is a point that I'm not able to personally comment about because I don't have a beard. I have like pube facial hair, so I don't grow facial hair at all. If you have a beard and you're doing corpse paint, try to blend the beard into the corpse paint if you can. I mean, there are people that do keep the beard and the corpse paint separate and it looks pretty cool, but I mean, look, this is a pretty solid corpse paint application right here. I mean, like, I don't know, I don't have anything negative to say about it. I don't have anything. This right here is what I'd call the right way to do the spindly look with corpse paint, because it's I mean, they have it on their mouths, but it's not gratuitous. This is probably the right amount that you should do if you're really going to commit to doing the spindly branches on your corpse paint. Bonus points to them for not using Freezing Moon for their TikTok sound. This is really hard. It's really hard to find... It's really hard to find a dude that does bad corpse paint. I don't even know. Wow. So this is the first time doing corpse paint. So I will say this. It isn't bad. It just looks really flaky. And that's just because of something I'm going to get into later. First off, they're doing a selfie. But the way that they're like showing off their corpse paint makes this look much more bad than it actually is. All he really needs to do here is just make the video black and white and just not do a selfie. And this could be like, I wouldn't be like trying to criticize it or trying to find a reason to criticize it. But we have another jack-o'-lantern nose right here, and it also looks like they mixed a little bit of pink in their corpse paint. What the fuck, dog? You're not supposed to do other colors. You know what? That's actually kind of metal too. Oh my god, this looks so much worse for me. I can't find any bad dude corpse paint. Oh my god, I'm just gonna give up. I'm gonna give up on criticizing. She did the jack-o'-lantern. That's like a jack-o'-lantern nose on steroids right here. Okay, you know what? She had a Sarcophago shirt. I'll give her that. She switched to a Sarcophago shirt. I almost dogged on her for having Slipknot right there. You know what? This isn't bad either. You know what? This is pretty good, pretty basic corpse paint. Not basic in the bad way, just... They played it safe. They did good. I just really hate TikTok dancing. Now, this is coming from the guy that just fucking shakes his head and wiggles his tongue in the forest to take black metal photos. But I hate the commitment that goes into posing around with the phone and your camera and recording yourself. I could never get into TikTok. I could never get into Musical.ly just for that alone. I really hate this format of making videos. Just fucking get a tripod and record yourself being corny as shit. It's funnier when you're doing corny shit like this than doing corny shit wiggling your phone around all over the place. Dude, this the thing that I'm trying to avoid in this video just keeps getting worse. This isn't bad for first time corpse paint. Okay, no, we're not watching this anymore. This already wasn't corpse paint. Stitches are not a part of corpse paint design. The corny ass fucking tongue sticking out and the fuckboy music really ruined it for me. If you're gonna do corpse paint, don't thirst trap with it, because you're gonna look fucking retarded. Especially for people that are much more rabid than I am. And not rabid in like they're gonna rip off your clothes, rabid in that they're gonna find your address and kill you. This is really bad. There's definitely a pattern on TikTok with bad corpse paint. Please, just give me one guy with shitty corpse paint. I just want dudes. So now that you have your corpse paint design itself figured out, the next and most crucial step to making the corpse paint look good is the photos. It's this stage of the corpse paint, like, process that really fucks up how good it's supposed to look. It doesn't do it any justice, and that's probably the biggest reason why people get made fun of for their corpse paint. Once again, like I said earlier, there's no such thing as necessarily bad corpse paint, just bad corpse paint photos, unless your corpse paint really is just that shit. Now, the first thing I'd like to get out of the way here, the easiest straw man to make fun of when it comes to corpse paint photos is when people take selfies of their corpse paint. They're not necessarily trying to pose up for the camera, they're just trying to show off their corpse paint. And while, yes, I can't provide criticism for that necessarily, people are still going to make fun of how you look in the photo, and there's just no way around it. So if you're going to show off your corpse paint, just don't do a selfie. Just go all out and just do a whole photo shoot in your corpse paint. And now getting into the things that you should avoid when it comes to doing your corpse paint photos, don't take your photos and leave them in color. When I see a lot of people take edgy photos of their corpse paint and they're posed up and they're committing to the corpse paint, they leave the photo itself in color. They don't even like color grade it. They don't add any kind of saturation. They don't update the contrast, the brightness. They don't alter anything with the photo. And I'm not just saying this as like a film and photography major. I'm also just saying this from like a objective perspective. It looks like shit when you leave your stuff just plain old in color, the natural lighting, natural colors of the photo. Just makes your corpse paint look really shit. Another thing that I'd like to mention here that I didn't really think about, if you're gonna be goofy with the corpse paint, commit to the goofiness like this. This is a really good example of being corny with the corpse paint, but doing it intentionally. Because, I mean, if you're doing it on purpose, no one can make fun of you for that. Or, I mean, if they can make fun of you, they're going to look like an asshole for doing it and not taking a joke. Like, this right here is fine when it comes to doing your corpse paint and making it look goofy, because you're going out of your way to look goofy. When you're trying to be serious and the photo still turns out goofy, it's just going to look fucking retarded. Now, I have my editing software opened up here, and I will say this photo itself doesn't actually look bad in color, but just imagine that it does look like shit. It's just poser, cringe, and you want it to look a little bit better. The biggest thing that'll improve your corpse paint photos right off the bat is just making the photo black and white. You don't have all these colors clashing, everything is just monochromatic, one defined color palette, and you can't really tell whether or not the white clashes with your skin color, especially if you're someone with darker skin like me. Now, another thing that really helps when it comes to your corpse paint photos is adding a brightness and /or contrast. I don't necessarily mess with brightness, but I more so mess with the contrast, just to make those blacks really stand out. And then you want to mess with the brightness just so you can really make those whites also stand out. Make it feel like it's almost glowing. Depending on what kind of photo and what kind of look you're going for, you can go in the opposite direction with the contrast and make yourself look more visible. But I will say, it really is just a game of experimentation with how you want your photos to look. But generally speaking, I have my contrast really high, just so I not necessarily blend into the darkness, but so certain features are more obscured. Another thing that I mess with when it comes to my photos is the sharpening. I absolutely sharpen the hell out of my photos. You want these photos to have a little bit of a crunch to them when you're editing, and I don't know if After Effects... So, I'm using Adobe After Effects to edit this photo. These terms, black and white, brightness, contrast, sharpen, these are terms that are shared with every kind of Photoshop app. I personally don't actually even edit my stuff with After Effects. I use my phone. But it's easier and not as annoying to screen record on my computer than it is to screen record from my phone. So regardless of what you're editing on, you don't even need to add a lot to make the corpse paint photos stand out. You could just mess with the brightness, contrast, sharpness, the vignette, and make it black and white. And that's literally all that you need to get a basic corpse paint photo. Now, the phone has a lot more settings you can tweak with, but that, like I said, it's just really up to you what you edit with and what your preferences are and what you're trying to go for in terms of the look of your edgy corpse paint photos. Now, as you can see here, I've pulled up a photo that has a lot more technical errors in it. I'm much more obscured in the darkness, so I'm going to show you how my process goes for editing this kind of photo. I want you to remember this. If you fuck up the photo, that's okay. Play into those fuck-ups, because as long as you make it look cool, it's not going to matter whether or not you made a mistake in one of the photos, as long as you've put the effort in trying to fix that mistake. Now, once again, brightness and contrast. For this particular photo, I am going to crank up the brightness and the contrast, and then get that sharpness in there, the sharpen, crank that bitch up all the way, and boom, yet another black metal photo. Vignette, there we go. We're complete. We have another basic black metal photo completed right here. This is edgy, this is cool, this is badass. You're just creeping in the forest, looking like a little fucking gremlin, for fuck's sake. Now, some other things related to the photo side of doing corpse paint photos. I can't, like, stop you from using a really good camera, but I'd still highly recommend against it. If you are going to use a nicer camera, like I'm recording on a DSLR here, if I were to use this particular camera to take my corpse paint photos, I would really tweak the settings to get a long exposure to really bring out that blur, and make sure your photo quality settings are as low as possible, and make sure your ISO is cranked up as high as possible without it being too bright. It really is about trial and error with your camera. Everybody's camera is different, everybody's settings are different, but to make things really easy, I just use the iPhone because it does so many things at once that there's going to be a lot more fuck-ups, and those fuck-ups make the photos look just that much more cooler. Some other photo-based things that I might not be thinking about as I was doing the whole editing segment. Yeah, just commit to the photo. Once again, Never do selfies if you don't want to get laughed at. If you're going to show off your corpse paint, do it in a full-fledged photo shoot. In terms of doing the photos by yourself, what I do, especially since I have a phone, is I have like a little iPhone holder. I just mount it to my, let me see if I can find it to begin with. Son of a bitch, man. I don't have it here right now. So I can't find it right now, but I do have a thing to hold up my phone that screws onto my tripod. And I do use that to take photos if I really wanted to be lazy. But when you're taking corpse paint photos, really immerse yourself in the location you're taking your photos in. If you have someone to hold the camera, that's great. Make sure you're really directing them on how to take the photos for you, because sometimes there are people who don't know how to take photos good, and sometimes the photos really do turn out like shit and there's no way you can save it because the angle's bad or some shit like that. If you're gonna take photos by yourself, especially when you're doing self-portraiture like I do, really use the place you're at. For the photos that I took and edited here in this segment, I was using the trees, I was using all the rocks around me to put my phone in the right places, take the right photos, and it was just a trial and error of my phone positioning, my phone just making sure everything looks good, and my positioning personally, my poses, everything was lining up. It's a lot of trial, error, and really utilizing everything around you, really immersing yourself in like this creepy forest setting. I know I sound like I'm getting a little too excited, a little too nerdy about this stuff, but I'm a film and photography major. This is like my cup of tea right here. I do this not as a career right now. I'm a struggling artist, but this is my passion. So I go all out when it comes to doing my photos. And with that, that's pretty much all I really have in terms of like the do's and don'ts of doing corpse paint. I hope that I've explained things well in this video, and I hope that you've taken some of my points as like inspiration for how you do your corpse paint. If you're doing corpse paint for the first time or you've used my points to improve on your corpse paint, please send me what you guys do in either my Instagram or in my Discord. Both are linked in the description below, because I just really want to see what you guys do with your corpse paint. Corpse paint is one of my favorite things to do when it comes to being a black metalhead. It's my way of showing appreciation for the genre, and I might as well do it now, because I feel like when I'm in like my 30s or my 50s, I'm gonna outgrow it. So, oh yeah, another fucking thing you should avoid doing corpse paint. Avoid doing corpse paint when you're on the older side, unless you're like in a band, because I will admit it's a little weird at the older age. But who am I to judge? I'm not trying to be like a dick about it. Do whatever makes you happy, you know. Yeah, I think that's all I really have for this video. I love each and every one of you, and hail Satan, and I'll see you all in the next video.